Shallow Fishies, Mermaid Kalissa here. I am here with a 3-year tail review of FinFun's Elite Tails. As we know, FinFun has not been on the market very long with a larger professional tail, and I have had this one since 2021, so I'm here to review what it has done for me in the past 3 years. First of all, I want to start off by saying I've been a professional mermaid for several years. I have worked in aquariums, I have worked doing events, parties, pool parties, meet and greets, all sorts of different things as a professional mermaid. I started off with my own tail that I made from swim material. I put a Mahina monofin in it. I loved it, it was fantastic. I swam in an aquarium with that for about half a year, and then I decided I needed more. I loved FinFun's tails, I loved their prints, they were super beautiful. However, the flukes were really small. So I started making my own Frankenstein tails where I'd cut off the bottom of the FinFun tail and then sew on an additional swim material to fit the Mahina monofin. Well, a few years later, and FinFun started making their own tails that had larger flukes, and I was so excited. At that point, I had a silicone tail that I swam with often. However, it was my only tail, and it was very nerve-wracking to show up to a party with just the one silicone tail. In case anything went wrong, I wanted to have a backup, and so that's when I started looking at the FinFun Elite tails. This is my first FinFun Elite tail. It's the Neptune style of fluke. So very traditional mermaid fluke. It's got some fun little embellishments, but nothing too crazy. The colors were very different from my silicone tail that I originally started swimming in. So it was kind of fun to switch it up. It was fun to have something a little different in my bag, just in case there was a different aesthetic that parents wanted for a birthday party. I had options. For the first 2 years that I owned this tail, I worked full-time in an aquarium, swimming and entertaining kids as they came through to see the animals. I swam in salt water with rocks and a very shallow pool, so I was often bumping into things. One of the biggest things that I've noticed about this tail, which I think you can notice about just about any fabric tail, is that there has been some wear and tear where my heels were. So here where my heels often hit the bottom of the pool or were on rocks as I was scooting around, we did get a little bit of wear and tear, but I've had this for 3 years. I've used it often, frequently used it in rocky areas, on sand, in salt water, and I'd say it has very minimal wear and tear going on there in my heel area, which is usually pretty beat up. On the back side of things, I've got a little bit of wear and tear there on that dorsal fin. So my dorsal fin here has some balling up of the material. It's kind of starting to tear a little bit. Not tear, it's starting to wear a little bit. I feel like I'm still pretty far from any sort of holes being in there. It holds up really well. I don't feel like I can see through the material yet, but it is getting a little bit scuffed. As far as the fins go, my side fins and everything going on there, the seams have held together really well. I don't have any scuffing on those. There are a couple areas where the seam is starting to show a little bit more, but I don't think I'm in fear of those falling off anytime soon or losing any of those. As far as the waistband goes, it's quality. It's nice and thick. It's got some good elastic. The elastic has not stretched out. I've been very concerned about that. With the FinFun littler tails, I usually got them a couple sizes smaller because I noticed that as I swam in those, they stretched out quite a bit. However, the Elite tail, I've had this for 3 years and it has not changed size. So the fabric seems to have great integrity. It's pretty smooth. I love the fabric for these tails. It's a scuba knit, so it's somewhere in between neoprene and like swimsuit. Well, it's a much better quality than just swimsuit fabric. So it's a high thread count. It's got a thicker feel to it. It's buttery smooth. It repels water pretty well if you're just sitting at a land event or a dry event. So that's kind of fun because you can spritz your tail down with a spray bottle and get that little droplet look on you. Kids love it. They think it's pretty cool. So that's been a really fun one. The zipper on the side is something that I was concerned about. My silicone tail I made myself and I put a zipper in it, and the zipper has broken a couple times. This I have not had any issues with. Again, I've had it for 3 years. I've swam in an aquarium with it, so saltwater frequently. The zipper on the edge here is slightly losing its paint, but it is not rusted. Everything flows smoothly. The edge piece of the zipper here is a little bit of wear and tear. I'm starting to see that kind of struggle a little bit, but for the most part, that still functions as it should, which is really exciting because zippers are probably the most painful thing to replace at any time. As far as the fluke goes, it's still living its best life. It might be a little bit sun faded. I have a bad habit of leaving things in my car. When you get home from an event and you're tired and you don't want to clean things up, I do that. I have swam in chlorine. I've swam in salt water. I've been out in the sun with these many, many hours. So it has faded just slightly from its original. However, this is still one of my favorite tails to photograph in. So if I'm doing a photo shoot, this tail shows up so well in photos and edits just come out beautiful. So I love the graphics on FinFun tails. They've got great dimension to them. The colors are so fun. They're so saturated. They've come out with a lot of different styles now. Again, this is one of the first ones. This is the one I've had for years. I have a few newer ones, but wear and tear wise, I've had this one for 3 years.